An ode to the art of grifting. You know, online, there are a lot of people who accuse everyone else of being a grifter. They say that I am a grifter simply because a portion of my income comes from Patreon. You know what's really funny to me is that during Occupy Wall Street, people were raising money through random donation sites like WePay, and that was a good thing. And NPR and the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, many companies solicit their viewers for donations. If you listen to public radio, they will do ads in the middle of their video saying, hey, everybody, why don't you give us some money so we can keep doing our work? And that's what I do. And I also have, Google ads and direct sponsors. And so there are people on the far left, and they call this grifting. And that's what we're looking at right here, the Michael Cohen Truth Fund, which as of right now, the filming of this video, actually, you know what we're going to do? Let's refresh. Because it's at $47,000. $57,000, Michael Cohen in 16 hours. Woo, that's the best hourly rate you've ever had. What is that, like $3,000 per hour or something like that? So Michael Cohen, recently, I believe he pled guilty. And now it says, here he says this thing, it says he declared his independence from Trump, paid, and his commitment to tell the truth. And he made his decision to take legal responsibility and to continue his commitment to tell the truth. And so this GoFundMe, set up by his lawyer, Lanny Davis, in 16 hours, $57,000. So a lot of people are sharing this, they're calling it grifting. Let's get back to the grifting point. I don't think that's fair. Michael Cohen, he is a criminal. I believe he's a felon. And now he's speaking up against Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is speaking up against him. Trump tweeted out, he's a bad lawyer, something to that effect. And it's going to be interesting to see if anything comes of this. Obviously, people on the left are calling for impeachment. And I talked to a friend of mine who is a lawyer who said Trump can't be indicted. So I don't know what's going to happen with all that. But there's a reason why I didn't do a video on the Cohen Manafort thing for my main channel today, and why I'm still talking about it, is that, for one, it's ridiculously complicated and overly partisan. Trying to wade through what the truth actually is super difficult. Because if you go to a right-wing source, they start talking about how none of this matters and it's just posturing, and everything that Cohen is saying wasn't, it was a campaign finance violation. It's not even, it's going to result in a fine, nothing else. It's fake news, things like that. And the left is saying it's proof that Trump is a criminal and Russian collusion and all this nonsense. And you know what? I'm not going to do here's what the left said, here's what the right said. In this regard, simply because it's just really complicated and everyone is too heavily invested in it for me to break down. But I can talk about the grifting. I did do a left-right thing for the video on my main channel about Molly Tibbetts because that's much more. It's I don't know how to describe it, but the stakes for the Trump thing are so ridiculous that if you don't show like a 50-minute video of all these different angles, someone's going to chew your head off. And until the dust settles, I'm gonna lay back on this and we'll talk about this. But here's the thing: simply because Michael Cohen is raising money, I wouldn't call that grifting. Look, he's a person who's doing something that he thinks is in his best interest, and he's raising money. I will say, this is much different from what I'm doing. Okay, I think it's funny that there are people who have YouTube channels or Twitter accounts and they raise money. Someone like Nick Monroe, who does these Twitter thread journalism essentially, and then at the end of it, he'll say, hey, PayPal me if you'd like. Then you have other people who have Patreon accounts, and I noticed there are a lot of people on the far left who call them grifters. And they say this about me, the idea being that we're only espousing certain ideals and opinions because we're grifting. We're trying to convince people to give us money, and that's what it's all about. And that's just so dumb and so silly. Now look, in the instance of Cohen, and let's not forget Peter Strzok, because he also raised, we'll come to this guy, we'll come to him next. But in the instance of these individuals, they're raising money and they're not doing anything. I mean, look, just because you pled guilty or convicted or fired doesn't mean you're doing something worthy of making money. But at the same time, if they're doing something in their life and people want to give them money, then hey, you know what, that's the free market, right? People want to give them money, by all means, go and do it. I think it's rather silly because you could give your money to something else. Now, when it comes to the idea of grifting for YouTube personalities and such, here's the thing. For me, people for the most part give me money on Patreon because what I'm doing is something they feel they gain value from. And one of the goals that I have in the work that I do is kind of being rational and trying to really find the truth. I'm not perfect. I have my biases. People say that I'm objective, and I'm like, to a certain degree, like on certain issues. Obviously, but it's not about always being objective on everything. It's about being honest, because obviously I have opinions. You people come to this channel, you see my opinion. On my main channel, my opinions are more focused on the current news story and the sources, whereas this channel, look, I'm going to do a video about grifting. But the general idea is, when you subscribe to a creator who has a certain political leaning, it's because you think that political leaning is important, and giving them the ability to keep spreading that message is something you are buying, right? In this instance, Michael Cohen is going to possibly testify against Trump. So that's it. That's all it takes. People are going to start pouring money into Michael Cohen. Now, what I can't figure out, look, I can understand the Michael Cohen Truth Fund, right? Lanny Davis, his lawyer, set this up, and in 16 hours, $57,000. Let's do a refresh and see what happened in the 5 minutes. So 57,304. I don't know if it went up. Maybe it did. I should have paid attention to the smaller numbers. But these numbers are going to keep going up. It's been half a day, and he's already raised nearly 60 grand. And the thing is, people are giving him money because they want him to survive and flourish. They want him to be able to go after Donald Trump. There's a lot of people who are complaining about these things, saying, why don't you give to a nonprofit? Why don't you give to like an immigration nonprofit to help undocumented migrants and core issues, environmentalism? Why are you giving to this guy? And I gotta agree at least a little bit. Michael Cohen is not a poor person. He was indicted on a bunch of things that involve like tax fraud and stuff like that. I don't have the full list pulled up. But I really doubt Michael Cohen is broke. So him trying to raise $500,000, I have to wonder. For me, I wouldn't say I'm broke either. But most of the money I'm making, it gets expensed in traveling and production and trying to continue doing this work. Michael Cohen's a lawyer. He's now going to tell the truth about Trump, and he's raising $500,000 to maintain his life. They actually say here, it says, the Michael Cohen Truth Fund is a transparent trust account with all donations going to help Michael Cohen and his family as he goes forward on his journey to tell the truth about Donald Trump. What does that even mean? So I'll tell you what. If you want to give him money, yeah, go ahead and do it. I don't care. And I think it's silly that anybody would criticize Cohen for doing this. Look, there's an opportunity. People want to give him money. They want him to do his thing. I would be concerned that he could potentially become a grifter in the true sense, that he's only going to now speak out against Trump because he's going to make $500,000 to do it. That's worrisome. At the same time, I don't think it's fair to try and peg a financial incentive on, somebody's life. But I have to wonder if, somebody who made 60 grand in 16 hours, yeah, you've surpassed the American median wage in half a day. Does he need that much? Does he need $500,000? He's doing a single one-time fundraiser. How long is it? Look, if he spent it over 5 years, he'd be making six figures. Does he need that much? I don't know what his lifestyle is, but I find it kind of fascinating that people know what he's trying to do, like how much he's trying to raise, and they're going to do it. But let's talk about Peter Strzok, because this is hilarious. In 9 days, Peter Strzok has raised $442,210, and he keeps increasing the amount he's raising. At first, it was something like, 100,000. Let's refresh the page. Let's see what happens. All right, so it went up just a little bit. 11,578 people have donated to Peter Strzok. It's got 45,000 shares in 9 days. In 9 days, he has made more than 10 times the American median salary. What is this guy? Look, what does it say? It says he's a man who has spent his entire life working to help keep us and our nation safe, and he's been fired. It says that, Trump put pressure on him and then he lost his job. All funds raised on this GoFundMe will be put into a trust dedicated to covering Pete's hefty and growing legal costs and his lost income. So this, okay. I think it's fair to point out that Michael Cohen, sure, he's going to have legal costs from this. So maybe he is broke and he might need hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I believe he's probably going to prison. Then you have Peter Strzok, who is just fired. But he is definitely going to have some legal costs with everything that's going on. He's the guy who had that text message about stopping Trump. Lost income. I don't want to presume how much money he needs to get through this kind of ordeal, but initially he was only raising, I don't know where it started, but I know he keeps increasing the amount as people give him more and more and more. So, I have to wonder when I see that. If he knew he needed 100 grand and he asked for 100 grand, and then he increased it every time he got close to his goal, does he really need $500,000? So, look, I guess the main point of all of this, I want to read the last paragraph here. It says, We are asking you to support a man who has dedicated his life to defending America, to stand up for the freedoms on which this country was built, and a government that truly serves the people by protecting all Americans, including dedicated government employees from constantly being subjected to the whims and influence of politicians. This is the future of the economy. Gift economy. It's been talked about before. Peter Strzok now has nearly $500,000 to do with as he pleases. To an extent, right? Obviously, there's laws. And this campaign is trending, but he very well may reach his $500,000 goal. And that's a lot of money. You can live off that for quite a while. People have chosen to give this man money, and I don't know what he's going to do with it. Michael Cohen says he's going to continue telling the truth about Donald Trump. So that I understand. But Peter Strzok was an FBI agent who is alleging that he's being, falsely smeared and was fired for it. So are you just giving him money so that he can keep paying his mortgage, go to, play tennis with his buddies? It's not like I don't think he's going to do anything against Donald Trump. People are just literally giving this guy money. That's impressive. Liza Stewart, $100. Like, this guy had a job. He got fired. That's it. Now he's got $500,000. Let's look at Michael Cohen real quick. Look at these people. Someone gave him, okay, so that's from sharing, but someone gave him $25. Look at this, anonymous, $100. This I understand because, let's see, it just went up $360 or so dollars. People are funding Michael Cohen because they want him to spill the beans on Trump. They want him to say something about Trump. But there we go. It's the future of politics. Do we need taxes anymore when people will just do this? I don't know. Whatever. Look, a lot of people are calling this grifting. I don't think it's fair. Let the guy do what he wants, and if people want to give him money, they can. It is what it is. Grifting, that's whatever. This was a silly video. I've got another video coming up in just a few minutes, so stick around, and it'll be up shortly.